Butch and Bob Show.
World famous Butch and Bob Show here on WIFO 105.5 FM in Jesup, Big Dog Country Radio. And Bob is singing the blues this morning.
Yeah, I'm upset about last night, but I'm still laughing about Saturday's Alabama losing to Vandy. So
every time you start getting upset about Pittsburgh losing to Dallas last night, you just think about Alabama losing to Vanderbilt.
Celebration in Nashville. So, I mean, how do you lose to Vanderbilt? Way to go, Bama. Roll Tide. Roll Tide, roll.
Don't get too cocky there, because Georgia has lost to Vanderbilt when they weren't supposed to.
That poor coach went from the penthouse to the outhouse in
1 week. World beaters 1 week because you beat Georgia, and then you're going to run them out of town the next week because he lost to the Vandy.
They gave about 40 points to Vandy. I mean, that was what was crazy.
I know.
But the time of possession was unreal.
Unreal. Vanderbilt just dominated that game.
For like 40, but it was. I kept watching that game thinking, this isn't going to happen. I mean,
the
whole game going, Alabama was going to eventually wake up and win this game. But,
that's what everybody thought. They'll wake up, they'll come to life. The coach over there, halftime, will say something or whatever the case may be. But they had definitely had one of those victory hangovers, where you just, you're playing what you consider a softball team, and you just beat the number one team in the nation, and then you don't take the practice that serious that week, and because it's how you prepare is how you're going to perform during the game. Isn't that right, Stephen?
That is absolutely correct. My question is, what did Nick Saban say about the loss? Has he said anything?
The sad thing is they kept showing Nick Saban's quote at the end of the game of the celebration, where Nick Saban says nobody takes Vanderbilt, or something like nobody takes Vanderbilt serious, or Vanderbilt can't play. I mean, they kept playing this quote over and over on the loudspeaker. So it was a pretty wild scene. But like I said, they took the goalpost down to the river. It was a big celebration.
That's floating down the river in Nashville somewhere.
It is no longer in the stadium.
Well, Bob, who do we have as our guest this morning?
Got State Representative Stephen Meeks called because people want to know where do they get help. And that's the main thing. And Stephen got some answers about FEMA and things like that. So appreciate him reaching out, coming in here. We'll turn over to you, Stephen. Like I said, a lot of people hit hard. You just mentioned you went to Hazelhurst over the weekend, and like I said, as bad as Wayne County was hit. If you go further to Hazelhurst, Baxley, Douglas, I mean, there's a lot of people hurting in those parts of the state. So tell us, first of all, what kind of information you have for us.
Thank you, Butch and Bob, for the opportunity to come on this morning and just share some information that I've gathered and kind of historical knowledge and working from there. But I tell you, from what has been described as the worst storm to hit Georgia in history, it really brought the best of our state and our communities and our citizens really working together, pulling together. As soon as daylight hit on Friday morning, we had neighbors and community leaders out clearing roads, cutting trees, pulling them with their trucks out of the way just to make roads passable from the most destructive storm that we've had in our area. So it brought out the best in our community. To our first responders who were out clearing the roads as well. If you did get out on Friday morning, you really did see the cross section of our community coming together for each other and really starting to clean up our community. Talked to a couple of linemen with the power companies, and one of them told me yesterday that since the storm came through, 175 hours is what he's put in till yesterday, trying to get power back on in our community. So when you see a line crew out working, stop and if you can, say thank you. You got to remember they left their disaster at home and their families to come out and assist the community and others as we work to recover from Hurricane Helene and the destruction left behind. Bob, as he mentioned, we did ride over to Hazelhurst on Saturday to deliver some goods that were needed. But I've been throughout the district and all communities, talking to EMA directors, looking at damage and really seeing how do we help best recover from this storm. And as you mentioned, the further west you go, the worse it gets. And I hope that as we continue to recover, that you'll be prayerful for those to the west, I know we're talking about starting school on tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
And but some of these communities are not really sure when they're going to get back into school and back to work. So do keep them in mind. In my working through the local EMA directors, I've been in touch with all of them mostly daily, working to address the needs of the community. As many of you know, prior to the arrival of the storm, Governor Kemp did issue a state of emergency, which opens up state resources and allows assets to be moved around the state in preparation for the storm. And then once it moves on through, GEMA can then move in and help with the coordination and the recovery. So a lot of that has been through one contact. Local EMA directors, in this case Donnie Ray here in Wayne County, has done a great job of facilitating what those needs are. We talk to EMA directors daily to see what do we need. A lot of it has been ice and water from GEMA. We've distributed, I know, a little more than a truckload of water here in Wayne County. We had a load of ice to come in the other day. So resources are coming in. I am a bit frustrated with GEMA in the trying to get clear answers on where things are in process. Once that request goes to GEMA and then facilitates out to the state, there's a lot of frustration with local EMA directors as to when shipments would arrive. They wasn't real sure. I mean, it looks like to me that if a load of water leaves X destination, then you might probably know when it's going to arrive. But we've had some of those frustrations with GEMA and look forward to addressing those as we move forward. But as we continue to work to address the needs, many questions have been asked about the federal designation from FEMA. As we were talking a few minutes ago, I believe Friday afternoon late, Wayne County was approved for individual assistance for FEMA, which includes things such as food, water, baby formula, medication, and other emergency supplies. Is what individual assistance will work to address. There's also housing needs that FEMA will help pay for, and those are grants to citizens for uninsured property damage. Now, if you have insurance, insurance companies will cover those losses and help meet the needs, but these are for uninsured individuals in our community. The individual assistance within the housing aspect does include rental assistance if they're displaced from their normal residence. That can include lodging reimbursement and or some home repair. But as we were talking earlier, we were approved for that late last week with FEMA. I believe there are now 45 counties of the 90 that have been approved for public assistance. There may be some confusion with the assistance that is out there. Right before the arrival of Hurricane Helene, we were approved for the public assistance and individual assistance for Tropical Storm Debbie. So, and that
just got that approved.
That was just approved and just announced 10 days ago, right?
And that was the big gully washer we had during the summer.
Right,
when it came out with all the rain.
Exactly, more than 15 inches. So that was approved right before the arrival of Hurricane Helene. So there may have been some confusion on that, but in terms of FEMA and the individual assistance, in order to, the first step in that process is to apply for the serious needs assistance, and citizens can call 1-800-621-3362 to reach FEMA to apply for that assistance. Again, that's 1-800-621-3362 for the individual assistance that was approved for Wayne County as of Friday.
And this answers this question that somebody texted in, if you don't mind here, Stephen. It says, big question about the FEMA assistance. Is it a loan or is it a grant? You just said it's a grant. It is not
a loan. That is correct.
It's a grant. So that pretty well answers the rest of them, because they're not going to put a lien against your property if you don't pay it back and all that kind of stuff. If you're uninsured and you get FEMA assistance, it is a grant.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So as we move forward, and in terms of the public assistance, The avenue that the governor took in this case was an expedited request for the initial 90 counties. 45 have been approved. Keep in mind, this storm impacted everyone from Valdosta to Augusta. The day before the storm, North Georgia received upwards of 6 to 8 inches of rainfall, and then with the hurricane, I heard reports is up north of 10 inches. So it really did impact everyone across our state. So the expedited request is just one avenue. Some concern that we may not get the public assistance, but please remember that the avenues that are taken is you have one that is the traditional one, that is the assessment that is done after the storm clears the area, and a tally of damage is done and submitted to GEMA. GEMA then puts that request into FEMA and the president, and they consider it from there. So just because it hasn't been approved at this point does not mean that the public assistance will not be eventually approved for Wayne County.
Okay, someone texted in. It's a compliment for you, Stephen. It says, Stephen is a great example of leadership. He's helping people even when he doesn't have power. Well,
it's as I mentioned earlier, people from across our community came out to help out, putting their needs aside, and it's what our community is about. And we saw it all across our community, and just we appreciate the words there. But the community itself really turned out to help each other.
And that's true. So many people out there helping groups of, and sometimes you see some of these same groups of guys that get out after a major event like this with their chainsaws and their clippers and their trailers and the pull the debris away and all that kind of stuff. And then you had a lot of new folks out there helping. Matter of fact, there's a big event going on again in Scriven today.
Yes, sir. Mayor Weaver, we've got some water that he's going to be passing out, and some, I guess 10 to 2. Mayor Weaver is the time you're going to be doing
12,
that.
I thought it was 12 to 4.
12 to 4. But they will be doing that today, and Mayor Weaver and
12 to 4.
Right next to the Scriven Post Office
Right.
today.
Just like they did last week.
Right.
Just like they did last week. They're next to the Scriven Post Office. You got the Scriven Post Office on the slab in partnership with KJ Clothier, and the Church of 1122 in the city of Scriven will have the site set up with MREs. You ever had an MRE?
I have not. Mayor Weaver was describing them to me the other day. So,
what does that stand for?
Ready to eat meals.
Ready to eat meals.
That
Just
is
like
correct.
You see in the service. You see it on movies, all the time. MREs and stuff. And so they're going to have that: water, frozen dinners, personal hygiene supplies, feminine products, and more. And Patrick and the Sausage Dudes is coming with 3 pallets of frozen dinners ready to eat with warming. And they have dry goods also. And Janice has gathered up many supplies and connected with friends who have people's needs met during this difficult time. We are blessed to have these partnerships and able to witness loving thy neighbor in the #1 small town USA. Jason's got to send that in.
Amen.
You will say amen too, because you're from the Scriven area. So that's going on today from 12 to 4 right there next to the post office in Scriven. And they had a bunch of folks show up last week at this event, and I'm sure they'll have a lot today.
Right, exactly, and we'll continue to. It's a great example of community, as I've mentioned. I know that Jacob and Weaver brought out his cooker last week in Scriven, and we had a great a lot of food donated. They brought in. I know Church of 1122 and other churches were also there to help really put together the plates that were served in Scriven last week. I know also, I believe Saturday they were over in Odom, fed a multitude over there, and will again today be in Scriven, handing out water and other needs with KJ Clothier and JC. So really, again, appreciate what people are doing. And again, as you mentioned, some of these people still don't have power. And talking to Georgia Power, they have also in their compilation of data acknowledged that it was one of the most destructive storms in recent history. because the initial reports were, and something that doesn't happen a lot, is the infrastructure. Your three-phase, your transmission lines went down during the storm, and then that's a rarity in this area. Of Georgia Power's customers, the latest I have is there were 8,300 poles damaged, 1,000 miles of down lines, or that equates to 21,000 spans, 2,000 transformers, and 3,200 trees on power lines. So obviously,
do they just keep this sitting around in a warehouse somewhere for these storms? I mean, it's not something you can say, oh, we need 4 more of these that you can manufacture. I mean,
no, I don't. I know they have some on storage. Some of you may or may not know I'm the son of a lineman. My dad was a lineman for Georgia Power for 42 years, so I understand somewhat what they do. They do have some supplies on hand. I anticipate as a storm is approaching that they will make arrangement for others. But keep in mind, the eye of the storm on the initial last forecast that I looked at before we lost power and internet was the eye of the storm was going up the west side of the state.
yeah, it was going
through,
up I-75
right,
to
Albany,
Atlanta.
west of 75 through the Albany area up north. So I anticipate there was probably some anticipation and preparation there. But I do know Georgia Power and EMCs both have a supply of some of these,
And they buy from other power companies also. I mean, you saw trucks around here from all over the place helping out getting the power back on in that area. Someone said that MREs are meals ready to eat. Meals ready to eat are MREs.
Right.
And someone just texted in showers are available in Scriven also.
Right.
That's right. Mayor Weaver's got a hose hanging across the wall there at Scriven City Hall, and you can go out there in your bathing suit and bathe out there, right?
He did mention the other day that he would
He was
be
putting
opening
that
the
hose up
showers
there.
at the ballpark for residents in
So it's at the
need.
ballpark.
That was that's what he shared with me on Friday morning or either Saturday morning early. But Georgia Power, just so we know, 1.3 million customers out, 98% restored. A lot of that is in the Augusta area. Satilla REMC and the crews that they have continued to work. I know our local crew is out working nonstop. They had similar numbers: 25,000 poles down, 20,000 spans of wire. The residents and customers of Satilla REMC, 47% have been restored. And as you continue to receive, as power continues to come on in our community, hopeful that those who do get power will remember those who may not, and continue to try to serve your neighbors down the road, up the long driveway that may be a single house on a line that still may not have power. So we will continue to monitor that, and I know that the linemen are working very hard, but also acknowledge that there's another hurricane on the way, and there's the potential that some of the power crews from Florida may be recalled in preparation for yet another hurricane coming across Florida.
Looks like it's going to hit right on Tampa again.
That's what it looked like this morning.
The last one was a little above Tampa, but this one looks like it's going to hit right on it if it stays like it's supposed to. Somebody just, the Mayor Weaver just texted in, yes, the showers are at the ball field in Scriven. Bring a towel, is what he says. And I know this doesn't have to do with hurricanes, but, last week, Thursday or Friday, I can't remember which day, I think it was Friday, the governor suspended the sales tax on gasoline. That's 30 cents a gallon.
Correct.
And that was last week, because I remember talking to the mayor about it on Thursday morning. And do you know when that ends? Do you know when the governor is going to end that?
It will usually end whenever the state of emergency, and that state of emergency is usually for a 30-day period at the time, and he has the authority to continue to extend that at his discretion, but we don't know for sure.
Okay, so at the end of the emergency, it did start on Thursday, because the mayor was talking about that Friendly Express and Scriven, that when he came in the morning, they had already dropped theirs 30 cents.
And that's commendable, because typically what will happen is if they've already got a load in before the storm hits, they will finish that load out at the current price, and then a lot of times they will drop the sales tax off of the following load that comes in, if that makes sense. So many times that's what happens, but it certainly is going to be very beneficial and helpful. He also, when it comes to dyed diesel, which is red diesel, he also lifted the restrictions on that for that to be used for on-road in case trucks are not able to get to a diesel pump, and red dye is available. So the governor has certainly stepped up and tried to do and done what he can as governor, and the authority that he has to help citizens during this time. But
and he's traveled the state as well.
He has traveled.
He was in Hazelhurst last week.
That's
I know
correct.
He's been in several areas, so he's had a firsthand knowledge of how bad the situation really is.
Absolutely. And as we continue to pray for those who who receive the most damage and are most in need, just to reiterate, as we do wait on FEMA on the public assistance and those apply for individual assistance, want everyone to know that there are outside organizations and private donations that are coming into our communities. I know Second Harvest has received some donations, and we're working with other individuals in the State House, and my colleagues in North Georgia, and Speaker John Burns is working with companies to get supplies into local areas from private donations that are stepping up to help those who have been impacted by the storm. So we have a lot of people out there that you may not see them, you may not know their names, but they are working every day for Georgians and for neighbors to help recover from.
And we got
storm.
a text on that. It says Wayne County Forestry Department has been sent not only here in Wayne County but also to surrounding counties to help clear the roads and work late evenings and weekends. A lot of these guys, they don't have power also.
They don't.
But they're out there working hard for not only Wayne County but surrounding counties. Everybody's sharing their resources trying to get the areas cleared of trees.
They absolutely do. I have run across a couple of the forestry crews out clearing roads. They continue to do that, and will continue to do. I do believe that forestry is also delivering water to communities, as that is coming out of a central location, mostly out of Macon. And I know that Department of Natural Resources has been out on strike teams and helping to clear roads, cut trees, and every single one of our state agencies have been all hands on deck. DOT, I really hate to start naming them because I know that I'll leave some out, but everyone has been out and left their disaster at home and their family to go out and help the community recover, and they will continue to do that, I know, and that is greatly appreciated. And as we get around, I try to take the opportunity to stop and at least say thank you and see if there are needs that we can help those gentlemen with, or ladies that are helping in that area. But DNR, Georgia Forestry, and others, again, they continue to do great work in helping us to recover from the storm.
What's your understanding right now about Hurricane Milton and how it's going to affect our area?
The track that I saw had it going across Florida. I did read that we may get some more rain. There was two different forecasts that I saw through the weekend, and I don't know if I ever have another career. I want to be a meteorologist because I don't have to always get it right. But from what I was seeing, it would come across into Tampa and go straight across Florida, so we would get some wind and some rain.
I think right now we're getting the outer bands,
right,
which means winds gusting up to 20 miles an hour, maybe 25. That's gust, and then maybe 2 to 3 inches of rain. Unlike the counties that border Florida, where they're going to get 6 to 8 inches of rain and weather and winds up to 30 to 40. So right now, but that hurricane still has to come all the way across the Gulf.
It does.
And it can just either way. We saw that with the Helene, and it may with. I think this time let's just all be prepared,
right?
Just in case.
And we don't know, as you said, really where it's going to go. Our soils are wet. Trees topple very easily. If you've ridden by any pecan trees groves lately, out 203. Significant trees are down up Odom Scriven Road all across our community. So the pecan crop has been significantly damaged by this. We don't know to what degree yet. Those numbers and assessments are still being worked on. You have to remember cotton crop was just about ready to be harvested, so a lot of it's on the ground now. Peanuts are being dug. So the agriculture community and those who feed us, and in my opinion, the food security for our country, it's in a trying time right now. So hopefully this hurricane will move on where we can the farmers can continue to gather the peanut crop and get it in as we move out to the end of this year.
All right, someone just texted in. First Baptist Church in Scriven will open the social hall today, beginning at 2 o'clock this afternoon, for you to hang out and cool. So if you don't have power and you want to cool off, go to the social hall at First Baptist Church in Scriven.
Right.
And one of the things they talked about with the storm coming in, it looks like at this time we're not going to get the winds we did with Helene, but you've got a lot of, if you mentioned wet soil out there. I know that I had 2 huge pine trees fall in my yard and some small ones, but I didn't have another one, a medium size, that didn't fall until days later, because the ground was wet and eventually the weight just pulled it over. So we may see some of that with Milton coming through. Some of the trees that were weakened may fall. Right,
exactly. There's liable to be more. I know that the timber industry, a lot of damage within timber stands across our community and all the way up to I-16. We've seen some of those as well. Also, First Baptist Scriven will be open this afternoon, helping individuals. And other community groups will be in. So all across our community, folks are coming together. I believe John Williams is going to be with JC today in Scriven in that event, and proud of her for doing that. But I will say that our preacher Stone said yesterday at church that everybody kind of looked weary, and if you weren't, then that meant you hadn't been out doing very much. And it was a great time to get our kids out off the screens and off the Xbox and help our community. So a lot of good things that are coming out of it and bringing our communities together. But as we continue to recover, if there is anything that I can do, if there are specific needs, we are beginning to hear from some of those in communities. My cell number is 912-207-0813. You can call or text, and we will work to try to help address individual needs and specific needs in communities as we move from here. But again, we will continue to be out and working to address the needs with local community leaders, and we've got great ones here in Wayne County and surrounding counties. So look forward to continuing to stay in touch with them.
Stephen, as you mentioned, a lot of areas hit really hard. The main thing is trying to keep this focus for quite some time. Our news cycle, we move on to different things. And like I said, these people are going to need help for weeks and months to come. So how do we keep that in mind and keep everybody focused on that statewide?
I think we keep it here locally at the forefront. Our teachers and our school students will be starting back to school tomorrow. We know that there are teachers who will be returning to work who still may not have power, still have struggles at home with really trying to prepare for the day. So, as we continue to return to some sense of normalcy, I'm hopeful that we will all be patient with each other. We know that patience is wearing thin, and as the conveniences of life do come back on, we can it'll be easier. But I think it's one of those things, as we continue to just remember our neighbors that still may not have power. I had one company tell me that it may be as long as 5 weeks before the entire power grid is restored back to full capacity. So I think you have to remember those struggles with our neighbors as we continue. But as you mentioned, we will continue to work. This is not the end. I won't stop here in making sure that we work to address the communities address the needs of our communities. I told some friends over the weekend that as you look around, communities that were hit harder, it changed the landscape. It changed the look of their community. And that's something that we will forever remember when we ride by, landmark of a tree that always stood at X spot. That's been changed forever. So we will continue to work for our communities to address the needs. We'll continue to be out and about. But as you see something specific, let me know. We'll continue to work with Governor Kemp and GEMA and FEMA for the public designation, and do what we can to continue to be of assistance and for our community.
One thing I'm really curious too, I mentioned, I woke up, had to find gas, was able to find gas on Saturday, but I was thinking about all these people with these electric cars with no power. So
You raise a good point.
I mean, what are they thinking about that? I mean, that doesn't help anybody when you can't get power, right?
That is correct. You still have to have power to charge the batteries. I know that there have been a lot of generators purchased over the last 10 days. I will say to that degree, please be safe in wiring those generators into your home and making sure that we don't backfeed onto the lines that the linemen are working on, because it will electrocute them if they grab a hold of it and your home is backfeeding the power line. So please be careful in doing that. But it does raise a good question, Bob.
I was just curious. I said it ain't going to help you with no power. Having an electric car, you can't get out of that storm. They keep pushing, and I'm like, well, I hope they're paying attention. That doesn't help.
That is certainly the case.
I was able to at least get gas and move on. But
another
thing I heard, what's sad is I've heard a lot of, unfortunately, people stealing generators. I mean,
that's going on big time.
That's just really amazing. I mean, I can't believe people have that kind of audacity to do that, because I heard one guy had it in his back of his garage, and he just pulled up there and stole it. I mean, I was like, they're lucky they didn't get shot. I mean,
right.
But I understand there's a lot of theft going on throughout these areas, people stealing generators.
Right, it's one of the things, when you've got them sitting out running at night, obviously, it's easy to hear those as you're riding by, and particularly in rural areas where it's very quiet. I believe Generac stock went up 12% in the last 10 days.
I'm sure it did.
A lot of them being purchased and installed. And I do believe that there have been 3 deaths attributed to generators that have been inside a home.
Right.
Don't do that.
Carbon monoxide.
Can't have that gas, monoxide going in there.
Make sure that the ventilation is there, and those should be outside, so that we don't experience that. We did have over in Pierce County, firefighter Assistant Chief Leon Davis that was killed Friday night responding to an event, a call about 3 a.m. A tree fell on his truck while he was responding. So
while he was moving,
he had just gotten back in his truck, I understand, and was about to return to the fire station, and a large oak limb fell on him. So to the first responders, to our law enforcement who have been out there since the beginning, thank you. And again, there's so many across our community we could say thank you to as we continue this, and we'll be a partner in that as we continue to recover.
Have you heard how bad Metter is? I know they had a downtown fire.
They had a downtown fire yesterday.
That was pretty bad, so I'm sure they're going through what Jesup went through years ago. I still remember when Jesup had the downtown fire, how tough it was, but I understand Metter downtown area got hit pretty hard.
Right, they got hit very hard. I also understand Vidalia was hit very hard as well. We've got some folks that'll be there today, but I understand they were hit very hard as well. So, as we, again, please continue to help your neighbors as we move forward, and trying to recover. And again, my cell number is 912-207-0813. If there are specific needs that we can help with, please call.
Okay.
Again, appreciate you coming in.
Thank y'all. Thank you very much. Right. I appreciate the opportunity.
State Representative Stephen Meeks, our special guest this morning on the world-famous Butch and Bob Show here on WIFO. And the show's been brought to you by the Service Department at GNS Auto Sales, GNS Auto Sales on North 1st Street, by First Southern Bank, Murphy Builder Supply, and O.C. Welch Ford.